we are you are going to see HPP, that is the acronym we use when speaking of the Hidrovía Paraná-Paraguay in Spanish. The position of the hidrovía in South America and the countries that are involved. You see, there are 5 countries: Bolivia, Brazil, Paraguay, Argentina, and Uruguay, even if Uruguay has just a very small part of this waterway. The definition of the Hidrovía Paraná-Paraguay from a geographical point of view is rather confusing, because it begins in Puerto Cáceres and arrives to Nueva Palmira in Uruguay. But it doesn't take in consideration some very important rivers like the Upper Paraná here, that is 700 kilometers long. And it doesn't take in consideration also the navigation to the ocean from Rosario to the Atlantic Ocean. So when we speak about the Hidrovía Paraná-Paraguay, we speak about around 3,400 kilometer lengths, but including those very important parts of the waterways, we are around 4,700 kilometers. Here we have another image of the hidrovía, beginning in Puerto Cáceres, navigating the Paraná River. This area is very rich in iron ore, and also all part of hidrovía is very rich in agricultural products. The navigation in this part of the river is done by barges, convoy of barges pushed by pushers. We will see the characteristics afterwards. So we are saying here that these parts, we are limited to a depth, a draft of 10 feet. And that depends on the level of the water, because all this part of from Puerto Cáceres, all the Paraguay River, passing Asunción, that is the capital of Paraguay, and arriving to this point, this confluence between the Paraguay River and the Upper Paraná, all this part of the river depends on the hydrological levels of the water. So nowadays that we have plenty of water, we have no problem with the navigation, but in times when the usual droughts that are in the basin, the navigation has to be reduced. Barges have to be loaded partially because the problems of the depth of the river. So that is this 10 feet. After this point, from this point to Santa Fe, that is a stretch of 640 kilometers length, the river has a lot of improvements that we are going to see immediately. From Santa Fe downstream, there is the navigation of deep draft ships. So we have a very long navigation from Santa Fe, Rosario, arriving to the Atlantic Ocean of almost 800 kilometers long. In the Upper Paraná, we have a dam, Yacyretá Dam. There we have sluices, locks, and these locks limited the possibility of navigation to very small convoys of 2 barges times 4. And going upstream, we arrived to this point, Iguazu, where there is a dam, a very important dam, Itaipu, a Brazilian-Paraguayan dam, that has no locks. At the time when that dam was built, some geopolitical problems made that the dam has no locks. So the navigation is interrupted at this point. From this point on, we can say that the waterway Paraná-Tietê begins, but there is no connection between the two of them. So that is a lesson that we have to learn for the future, that we cannot build dams in navigable rivers without locks. That is. The draft in this part is 10 feet till Santa Fe. From here to Corriente to Rosario is 25 feet, and from Rosario to the ocean is 34 feet. So it means that practically all ships that are coming to these waterways, deep draft ships, loaded partially with the problems, economics problem that brings. One important point that is interesting to consider is how to manage a basin that has 5 owners. So we have 5 brother countries, as we usually say, our brother from Uruguay, our brother from Paraguay. But when we go to this, there are a lot of treaties that have been signed, ending in the Constitution. Well, the several along the time, along the years, several treaties were signed between the countries, ending in an interstate commission to deal with the problems of the waterway Paraná-Paraguay. But the truth is that despite there are a lot of protocols that has been signed, agreement that has been made related to the size of convoys, the free navigation of the different flags and so on. But the real thing is lately this commission is not meeting. The last meeting was 3 years ago. So each country practically is controlling the part of the river that owns. So if we look, we have very long stretches of rivers that have 2 boundaries. One boundary in Paraguay and the other boundary in Argentina, for example. With Paraguay, we have more than 1,000 kilometers of common river for navigating. That should be an advantage. If we have a river and we have two persons that can put money to improve the river, that should be an advantage. But the reality shows that at the moment it's not that way. The commerce in the waterway, we can see that a forecast for 2019, that is in 4 or 5 years' time, we are speaking around 26 million tons of it. And with different products, we have soybeans, we have iron ore, we have general cargo, we have containers. So we have a drop in this 2012, and that was due to the lack of water in the river. But the possibilities of this is much more. Only in iron ores, there were several projects dealing with exploitation of iron ore mines in Bolivia and in Brazil. When those mines were functioning, this figure can be doubled. Here we made the transport in barges, but it's not the same speaking about barges in Europe that the barges in Argentina. Our barges are of this kind, like Mississippi, strictly Mississippi. For a lot of years, very old Mississippi barges were bought for this region, and now that this practice is forbidden, and barges are built mostly in Paraguay. This barge is very interesting barge with an overall length of 60 meters, a breadth of 11 meters, and a cargo capacity of 1,500 tons. And the new version of this is the adaptation of this Mississippi, increasing the breadth to 16 meters and increasing the capacity to 2,500 tons. And these barges are organized in convoys that we see one immediately. You can see here the barge fleet. In 2014, we have 2,000 bulk barges and 200 liquid barges. And in the blue means that new barges. And red, these are old barges that are put out of the system. So the same here with liquid bulk barges. And you see here why there are, in the last years, several shipyards that has been installed in Paraguay to build barges. There is a very big possibility of having a good business building barges. And 3 minutes, okay. This is the configuration of convoys. You will see that coming from Corumbá down, we are in convoys of two barges, 2x2, 2x1, ending at the end of a convoy of 6 times 7. 6 times 7 is 42. Multiply that by 1,500 tons, and you will find a very huge convoy navigating the river. And you can see one there. So the pusher, the length of these convoys is 7 times 60 plus 50 meters of the pusher. So really, so we have to see this as a weapon to diminish the cost of transporting goods. Other barges transport containers, and some of them, if you look, have also above the container trucks. It's an interesting image. One part of this waterway has had a development program, and that was from Santa Fe to Corrientes, that is 640 kilometers long. A very big investment was made with dredging in the parts without depths, putting H2 navigation, measuring water levels, making frequent bathymetric surveys, and putting AI, automatic identification system for the controlling and following of the ship. So this 600 kilometer length stretch shows that navigation can be improved that navigation can be done day and night, that navigation can continue even when the water levels are not in the best position. So I think that this part shows a lot of, give us a lot of hope, considering that we continue another 2,000 kilometers upstream. So here is a longitudinal profile of the river to show that the river is not flat, but we have very deep parts and very only points that we call forts or passos that has to be dredged. The floodplain is very wide. We did a very important environmental impact study because you know that since very long time the Hidrovia Paraná-Paraguay has been focus of observation from environmental groups. So to avoid any questioning, we made a very, very deep environmental impact study, and the improvement we made has a lot of economic consequences that I mentioned recently. But we have also a lot of problems because convoys have navigated since very long time, and it's not easy to train the people, to convince the captain, to convince the crews that navigation can be different. So when we pretend to make a change in a waterway, what we have learned is that you have to put a very long effort on training of people. For us, this is a small stretch, even if 600 kilometers long. But it shows that the improvement of the waterway is possible. I want to use a remark from Liebenhering that is going to speak to us in a few moments, when he says that correcting or making investment in infrastructure is not the only thing to have a very good waterway, that we have to make other aspects available, like good treaties between the countries, adequate laboral agreements. There are a lot of things that are not related with the infrastructure that should be solved for the waterway to be improved. And what's the last comment, because Philippe is making signs with the hand. You have seen that we have a river that has a mean discharge of around 20,000 cubic meters per second. 20,000 cubic meters per second of water flowing directly to the ocean. And we have no dam, we do not use that flowing water to produce energy. And that should be something that we should consider in the Paraná River, a series of low dams for generating energy and also for increasing the depth for navigation. That should be, in 25 years, in some time, something very important for us. Thank you.